Like, you do more damage to an ecosystem and largemouth bass bed fishing than somebody taking home a 2 pound bass. All right, we're live. What's up, everybody? My name is T, and welcome to another episode of the Night Biter Show. I'm just a dude that likes to fish and talk about fishing. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how catch and release could be a bad thing. Now, before you click out, before you start to flame me or hate me or whatever it may be, no negativity here. This is just a conversation. These are just my opinions. And I'm hoping that we can spark this conversation. I'm hoping that maybe I can shed some different perspective and you guys can comment along as well. You guys can converse with me. You guys can go in the comment section, tell me if you hate it, if you love it, whatever it may be. I know that talking about eating bass is a bad thing in terms of the hate, the response. But that's what this channel is going to be, man. We're going to talk about things like this, and I hope that you guys can just take my perspective with a grain of salt and just at least hear me out and tell me if I'm wrong or right. But we're going to get right into it. For starters, I got an IROD 794 Coastal. I have a 6-inch UFO gill. I actually put a bunch of, well, 2 suspend strips on it. This bait actually, it kind of suspends. It's a wake bait with 2 suspend strips. Kind of sinks all the way to the bottom when you reel it in. It suspends for a good couple of seconds before it starts to sink back down. This is a presentation that I think these fish probably haven't seen in a while or haven't seen. It's cold, and we're going to get a cast, kind of talk a little bit more about the current situation before we get into this topic. Normally I do these videos on my boat, but in Southern California, we've been dealing with a lot of rain, probably as not much as you guys are getting elsewhere places in the world. But for us, it's been, a lot. And with my boat going into saltwater, we deal with the swell, we have to deal with the wind. The tides weren't looking too good. So I just figured, why risk taking the boat out, especially after the rain and it's dark? I can't really see what's in the water. I don't want to run over something and damage my boat, damage my prop. So I figured, let's take it back to the grassroots. Ain't nothing wrong with short pounding and going to one of your favorite park lakes. Now, this park lake is called Belvedere. It's in East Los Angeles. The water is really clear. These fish are really skittish. And in order for me to even think about catching a bass here, I already know I have to fish extremely slow. That's why I decided to go with this presentation. It's going to sink to the bottom, and I feel like those fish are going to see it sink. It's just going to sit there for a little bit. And when I start to bottom stroll and just reel that bait back in with a little pauses, a couple of twitches, I think I can entice a big bass to want to commit to a bigger meal. I thought about coming here and throwing a big swim bait, but to be completely honest, I felt like like the times I've come here and throw a trout bait, these fish want nothing to do with that big splash. So let's get right into the topic, man. We're gonna start a little retrieve now. Oh, we just had a buster. That's cool. Hey, I'm seeing some life. Maybe it was a good thing that we decided to come here. Okay, why I think catch and release is bad is if you come to any park, lake, or pond and you start to catch fish, you start to see that they're long and skinny. When you start catching bigger grade fish, and some of you guys can understand this. Have you ever caught a big, like, 8 pound head bass with like a 4 pound body? Do you think that bass was just old? Nah, what ends up happening is bass get big and they can't compete with these pound or 2 pound bass. They can't compete with them. Those bass are just too fast. They eat up everything. I think people forget that largemouth bass, they are they're an invasive species. You go to some places in Africa that have largemouth bass, they treat them like carp. They say kill them all, big or small. And I feel like this stigma that you're supposed to let them go, let them grow, or you're supposed to release every bass is a bad thing. I wish it'd be socially acceptable to say, hey, if you catch a sub 3 pound largemouth bass that is longer, a little longer or longer than the slot limit, It's legal to keep. I wish it wasn't frowned upon to keep that bass. I wish it was socially accepted. To meet me halfway, I think it'd be cool if they opened up slot periods where, hey, from the months of May to fall, September, you can keep bass from this length to this length. And that'd typically be anywhere from like a pound and a half to maybe 3 pounds. I don't see nothing wrong with keeping a 2.5 pound largemouth bass. It's like there's open deer season, right? You get tags, you go kill some bucks and things of that nature, and hunters justify that because they want to have some type of population control over the deer. But when you even hint or talk about anything remotely close to killing a largemouth bass, people go absolutely berserks. And it's crazy. There's people out there that say if you eat a bass, you're considered a poacher. But then when it comes to spawn season, bed fishing, sight fishing season, they're out there sticking their PB. And I've always wondered, like, yo, you can't keep a bass, but you can take a fish off its bed, and then the fish just like kind of swims away. Who knows if that fish comes back, or by the time it comes back, did the bluegill eat all the eggs? Like, you do more damage to an ecosystem and largemouth bass bed fishing than somebody taking home a 2 pound bass. Then I also wish there was some type of education. I wish there was people knew, like even people with fishing worms, and like I wish it was posted, hey, if you catch a fish longer than this, throw them back. Those are the fish that are producing, the abundance of largemouth bass for you to enjoy, even your kids can enjoy in the future. A cool place that did that, a really neat place that did that, that had just giant bass, was Lake Mission Viejo. Before the golden algae hit and like 80-90% of their largemouth bass population died. But if you don't know what that place is, bottom line up front, that place had toads, donkeys, giants. There's no doubt in my mind that the world record possibly would have came out of that waterway. They stocked trout heavily in there, and it's an upscale area. It's a nice community. It's a really nice, wealthy area, and they love the idea of people fishing. So they did trout and catfish stocks, but those Florida strain largemouth bass were huge. And I'm talking 10 plus, 15, 13s, 14s was not uncommon for that body of water. What ended up happening is it got hit with golden algae. Now, that place is probably recovered since then, but I know they stocked it with a lot of northern strain bass. And northern strain, they're not the ones that will get 20 plus pounders. So I don't think the world record will come out of that lake. Possibly, who knows, man? Some of the fish that survived that still had those good genes, they're probably still in there growing. Who knows? But that place used to have a slot limit. So from 1 month to a certain month, you can catch and keep fish between, I think, 16 inches to 20 inches. If you were caught taking a fish over 20 inches in terms of largemouth bass, you were banned, you were kicked out, and you were receiving a ticket. Like, and because of that, you either caught a 5, 6 plus pound largemouth bass up or a dink. It was really tough to catch a 2, 3, 4 pounder. And that's really cool because you could see how those big fish thrive. Now, some people might say that the reason why the big fish thrived was because they stocked heavily with trout. And I'm not disregarding that one bit. But I'm saying that's less competition throughout the year that bass has with the 2, 3 pounders to feed on everything else. There's going to be more crawdads, there's going to be more bluegill, there's going to be more forage. It's like a natural ecosystem. The bass are then regulated, therefore they don't be overpopulated, and you're not stuck with a body of water full of dinks. This is true, and I know a lot of people know this, but people don't want to hear this. And I'm a firm believer that the fishing industry, because it's a moneymaker when it comes to baits, they don't want people keeping bass. They don't, first off, they don't want people fishing live bait. I don't see any problem with you finding crawdads, coming to a public park lake and fishing live crawdads. I have no problem with that. You are a fisherman. What is a fisherman? A fisherman typically is a provider. A fisherman is somebody that's well respected because of their morals and ethics. A fisherman is creative because they come out with tactics and techniques to be able to produce. There's so many great things about fishermen. And if you, a provider, want to catch fish or have the best chances of catching bass and you decide to fish a live crawdad, so be it. The fishing industry, they don't want that because they're selling baits. They want you as the consumer to purchase their baits. That's why they make craw imitating baits. They want you to buy this new craw imitating bait because they don't want you to fish live crawdads because they know you're going to get bit. And if you get bit, why do I need to fish these live crawdads? Now, to each their own, to each their own. I think fishing live bait and things of that nature, it's kind of swaying a little bit away from the topic, but I feel like it all fits in because I've heard the term poacher before. Somebody actually called me a poacher because me and my son were fishing live crawdads, right? Somebody called me a poacher, and I'm just sitting there like, bro, I'm trying to get my son into fishing. And I'm sorry that these bass are stubborn right now and they don't want a drop shot or a jerk bait. I'm sorry that these fish are boring right now. My son, I'm trying to get him hooked on this. And the best way to get hooked on fishing is to catch a fish. So I fish live crawdads. I found a little hole where I thought they might be, sprinkled out a little bread. I saw them kind of crawling out, got like 3 or 4 of them. And me and my son caught 3 bass that day on live crawdads. And they're good ones too. They're 3.5 to 4.5 pounders. My son had an absolute ball. He loves fishing now. And it was because of that moment, you know? So me getting called a poacher because I'm fishing live bait, I'm like, well, hold up, player. You go in the saltwater, it costs $25 for a scoop of bait. You know what I mean? And it's socially acceptable to fly line sardines for yellowtail. Why is it not socially acceptable to fly line a crawdad for largemouth bass? Oh, I get it. That's right. Because there's a big consumer market with largemouth bass. There's a lot of money being made with largemouth bass. So naturally, they don't want you to fish live bait, right? They want you to think it's bad to fish live bait, and they want you to feel guilty if you kept fish. They want you to think that you're considered a poacher if you take some largemouth bass home. Now, there are some people out there that will take anything they catch. And I'm not going to sit here and call them ignorant. I'm not going to sit here and call them selfish. A lot of them know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to catch fish, big or small, they're going to take them. Some people even find it funny that other people are getting upset. So they start to intentionally do it just to troll them. And I sit there and I'm just like, okay, well, that's just a small portion of the people that fish. That doesn't represent all people who keep largemouth bass. But you get a-holes like that. There's nothing you can do about it. If a guy catches largemouth bass illegally, legally he can take it. And therefore you can't say nothing about it. You can't, you can feel upset all you want, but at the end of the day, it's his right. It is what it is. The more we have these conversations, the more we start to kind of figure out what's right and wrong collectively, then after a certain amount of time, we can then form something to be able to go to the city and say, hey, can we do this? Can we apply slot limits? Can we do this? Can we have these signs posted that educates people on the importance of releasing bass of certain sizes? Can we do this? Can we do that? And it's crazy because what Fish All brand, my clothing brand, these are things that I feel are extremely important that I want to do with the brand. People often ask me why I haven't came out with shirts or hats or our new designs. And my response to that is simple. Until I get a grasp on the direction of how I want to do things, cool things, I don't want to take your money. I can make my own money. I don't want to take your money. I want you guys to buy something from Fish All brand when I'm ready to sell it. knowing and you knowing that a lot of that money, a lot of the proceeds are going to something cool. See, we did a Black Friday sale, right? And we damn near sold out of all of our inventory. And I told myself, well, I'm going to put 20% away to do something cool. And what I ended up doing is I gave away a bait lot and then two clothing lots with two reels. But I still had, I think, about $500 extra of money generated from that Black Friday sale. And I was really trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to do with it. And a dude named Jarrett Patton, he's a teacher, a cool ass teacher, by the way. He reached out and he says, "Hey, man, there's a fishing club that's been developed at our school that I teach at. It'd be rad if maybe fish all can get involved. Bro, meet me up." He meet me up. He met me up a couple of days later. I gave him a whole like big 10-gallon thing of clothes. I think it was 30 pieces mixed of hoodies and shirts. Every student in that fishing club got when I added up everything, and it's I tell you how crazy this is. When I added up how much I spent on all the stuff that I donated, it came up to right around $500. So here I do this Black Friday sale. I had an additional $500 from the 20% of proceeds that I put away, and I get a random DM phone call from a teacher who has started a fishing club with students, and what I gave away, what I had to give away, added up to that $500. Man, these are the cool things that I want to do with the clothing brand. Another cool thing, like we just talked about, is I would like to be able to not be by myself when I come to these things that are going to make our fishing community better. So if I tell you and you agree with me on this, that it's okay to take bass, maybe we should inform people. But I can't do it all by myself. But if I had people that agreed with me, if I had people that say, I agree with you on this, but I disagree with that, and we have this conversation and we come out with not a strategy, but some type of plan where we are all in agreement, like this is the best case scenario, this is the best avenue of the approach when it comes to catching and keeping bass. There's somebody in the fishing industry that can be a good representative, an ambassador for us to go to the city. We can get signatures. You know, there's a local politician who probably like the idea of supporting the fishing community because maybe they think that it's going to lead to votes, which probably it could if we like that person. But all I'm saying is I can't do this by myself. That's why I decided we're going to set this camera up. We're going to go fish because I was going to fish regardless. And we're going to have these conversations. And the more I have these conversations with you guys, I think the more I'm going to let you guys in more into my like personal logic, my personal thought process, or even in my personal life. I hope you guys see, because this is I'm not even at this point. I'm not even caring if I get bit. Like usually, I like to. I'll show you kind of how I fish this bait. It sinks to the bottom, right? I have two options. I can slow roll it on the bottom, and then just burn it and kill it. And that bait goes like that. It just sits. And I can slow roll and do it again, or I could dead walk it, just like so. Nice little subtle dead walk. And then pause. I can even just walk the dog back slowly. Just pop, 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 pause. I can fish it like a jerk bait. It's crazy. You go pop, 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 reel, and just pause. Pop, pop, pause. Pop, pop, pause. That's it. And they're just going whoosh, pause. You know, and it's crazy what some suspend strips can do. Hell, man, if I caught a 2.5 pounder right now, I might just take it home, make some fish taco. I'm just playing. I wouldn't do that. I don't even eat fish, guys. I'm a provider, but my kids like beef more than fish. I hope you guys kind of see where I'm coming from in this. You know, I love the fishing industry in terms of mainly the fishing community. I think you guys are rad. I think the people in the fishing community is what makes this whole fishing scene dope. What I don't like is how it's just kind of turning into like a money thing. That's one thing I don't like. I remember going to trade shows when I was younger, or like big fishing events when I was younger, you could walk in as a kid and you get like stickers, lanterns, hats, t-shirts. Man, these companies, bro, they were stoked to see people go check them out. They didn't have social media. It was newspaper advertising. It was word of mouth. They were just stoked to see thousands of people that were interested in fishing. Now you get these trade shows now, right? And it's everybody. They're just thinking about just making money. And some people are going to disagree with me on this, but I don't think it's all just about money. I think the money will come organically. I think if you make a good product and you have good morals, good intentions, that's going to support and help this fishing industry grow, the money will come. I'm a 100% firm believer. You got to have a good product, you got to have good morals, the money will come, right? But if you're just a company that look at fishermen, people that share the same passion as you, and you only look at them as money, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. You know, you see pros, they get upset because they're not receiving money from the big companies, and I'm just like, what's going on? You know, it seems it's all about money. It's all people, you know, some guy, I'm not even getting into that. That's going to be next week's topic. Next week's topic, I want to talk about how this fishing industry, at the path that it's going, and how it's all about money, not about principle anymore. I think that's a problem. I think it's a different topic for a different time. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a controversial topic, and I do appreciate you listening to what the future plans of Fish All and what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish with this channel. Ultimately, I just want to kind of lead all this into a positive direction. It's out here, it's hard out here for a lot of us, man, and I want to acknowledge that. I want to say that you're doing a good job. If nobody tells you, I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. If you woke up this morning, did a job that you didn't want to do to provide for your family, come home and no one told you thank you, I'm gonna tell you right now, thank you. And I'm also gonna tell you that they appreciate you. It's just sometimes we as human beings, we forget to acknowledge things that we're grateful for some people, they get certain things that they kind of expected. But don't feel bad that no one tells you thank you, bro. Feel good that they're spoiled and you created that. Because there's a lot of people in third world countries, even here in America, that don't have a third of what your family has. They wish they had that, but your family is so blessed, they're spoiled, and that's because of you. And that deserves a thank you, a good pat on the back. I wish you the best. I wish you an abundance of big fish. I'll leave you guys with the last thing. Don't count your blessings, pass them. It's not about what you got, it's about what you give. If everybody gave just a little bit, even if it's just your time, this world would be better for not only us, but our kids in the future. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. Out. Oh, yeah. What's up, everyone? My name is. What's up, fishing homies? Come on, dude. And I couldn't wrap my head out as to why. And the more I thought about it, the more I started to. Don't tell me this shit died, bro. Man, dude, this was supposed to be about catching and release. And I'm not doing any catching right now, but I'm releasing all my feelings.